Imagine this. What if you could just walk up to a billionaire on the street and ask them for their secrets? I mean, no filters, no PR team, just the raw, unfiltered truth. Well, today, that's kind of what we're doing.
That's a question that could change everything, right? I mean, think about it. Access to that kind of knowledge, it's usually locked away behind these massive closed doors. But what if we could actually get our hands on the blueprint for building insane wealth straight from the people who've done it?
Well, that's exactly what we're going to do in this explainer. We are heading to the streets of Scottsdale, Arizona. Yep, one of the richest cities in America, to decode these super candid, on-the-street interviews. Our mission? To distill all that wisdom into a clear, actionable framework for you. So let's dive right in.
Okay, but before we get to the secrets, we've got to meet the minds behind all this money. Look, these aren't just some names you read in a magazine. These are real people who built absolute empires from totally different starting points. And believe me, with very different philosophies.
So who's on our panel today? Well, first up, we've got Matt Ishbia, the mortgage mogul who now owns the Phoenix Suns. Then there's Ken McElroy, a real estate titan who built a staggering $2 billion portfolio. Of course, we have the legend himself, author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, and an anonymous software billionaire we're just going to call the fintech guy. You see? 4 completely different paths to the top.
All right, so here's the thing. Before we even touch on the money, there's this one common thread that runs through all of them, and it's this: relentless, almost obsessive focus on winning. Seriously, this is the foundation of the entire blueprint.
And for Kiyosaki, this mindset came from a pretty surprising place. You see, when he got his first sales job at Xerox, his goal wasn't just to, sell some stuff. No, it was to be the #1 salesperson, period. He makes this great point: history only remembers the winner. Like Charles Lindbergh flew the Atlantic first, but can you name who is second? Exactly. For him, the game is all or nothing.
Now, Matt Ishbia, he takes this idea and just cranks it up a notch. For him, competition isn't something to be scared of. It's his fuel. It literally doesn't matter if he wins or loses, because either way, it just pushes him to figure out what he needs to do better next time. It all comes down to this insane work ethic that's born from a genuine love of the game, and a drive to just flat-out outwork everyone else in the room. Then you've got Ken McElroy, who throws a bit of a curveball into this whole winner's mindset thing. His take really challenges our traditional ideas of success. He basically argues that being good at school doesn't automatically mean you'll be good in business. He was a C student himself, and he says because of that, he had to fight harder, learn the system in a different way, and just hustle in a way they definitely don't teach you in a classroom. It's a mindset built on pure street smarts, not just book smarts.
Okay, so here's where things get really interesting. Once you peel back that layer of a shared mindset, you find out their actual financial strategies are wildly different. I'm not kidding, some of their advice is the polar opposite of each other. It's fascinating.
And bam, here we have our first major clash of the titans. On one side, you have Robert Kiyosaki, who famously preaches that you should use debt as leverage. He actually calls debt money. Why? Because you can use the bank's money to buy an asset, say a rental property, that then makes you more money than what the debt costs you. But then, on the complete other side of the ring, you have Matt Ishbia, who built his entire fortune on the exact opposite principle: living beneath your means.
So what does living beneath your means even look like when you're a billionaire? Well, for Ishbia, he talks about driving himself around in just one car, not a whole fleet of fancy vehicles. It's not about being flashy. It's about making absolutely sure that every single dollar is out there working for you, not just sitting in your garage losing value every day.
And get this number, it just stops you in your tracks. Ishbia Butels tells this story about one year when his company made $60 million in profit. You know what he did? He took out less than $1 million for himself and plowed the other $59 million right back into the business. Just wow. Talk about compounding your bet on yourself over and over and over again.
And just when you think you've got it figured out, Ken McElroy comes in and just throws a massive wrench in the works. He argues that the worst advice out there is to save money. To him, saving money in a bank is a total losing game. And his logic is simple, right? If inflation is at, say, 3% and the bank is giving you 1%, you are literally getting poorer every single day. For him, money has to be moving, invested in assets that can actually outrun inflation.
Okay, so we've looked at the winner's mindset and these clashing money strategies. Now let's get down to brass tacks. Let's get tactical. What are the actual day-to-day habits that turn these huge ideas into billions of dollars? Well, it really boils down to 2 things: speed and scale.
For Ishbia, speed is everything. It's a huge competitive advantage. He says the single greatest trait that all successful people share is that they respond instantly. I mean, not in a day, not even in a few hours. We're talking minutes. They have this extreme sense of urgency to solve a problem and just move on to the next one, while their competitors are, still trying to draft the perfect email.
Okay, now let's talk about growth. Our anonymous fintech guy points out this massive trap that keeps so many businesses small. See, most people only start thinking about how to scale when the ship is already sinking under the weight of all their new customers. But he says the pros? They build the lifeboats before they're even needed. That way, they're just ready and waiting for the business to grow right into them.
So how do you actually do that? Well, he boils it down to this super simple 3-step guide for taking a company from 10 million bucks to over 100 million. Step 1, get out of your own way. Stop being the bottleneck. Step 2, hire people who are way smarter than you. And then step 3, and this is the hardest part of all, you have to actually listen to them. I know, it sounds so simple, but for most founders, that is an incredibly hard thing to do.
All right, we've hit on mindset, money, and habits. The final piece of this whole blueprint, well, it's arguably the most important one. And it's the one thing they all agree on. It's all about the people you choose to have around you.
This is Ken McElroy's absolute core belief. He is so adamant that the people you surround yourself with will have a bigger impact on your financial future than anything else. Think about that. Your network, it literally dictates your opportunities, your mindset, and ultimately, your net worth. And he gives this really clear, totally actionable advice on how to find a mentor. First off, he says you never have to pay for one. All you have to do is identify that one person in the room who just has that certain energy, that aura of success, and then you have to have the guts to just walk up and offer to buy them a coffee. He says most young people are just too scared to do this, so the ones who actually do, they immediately stand out from the crowd.
And then you have Kiyosaki's, let's just say, much more direct take on this same idea. Yeah, he's not subtle about it at all. He believes you have to ruthlessly, and I mean ruthlessly, curate your circle to include only winners. His take is simple. If the people around you aren't striving to be number one, well, go find people who are.
So after decoding all of this raw and, let's be honest, sometimes completely contradictory advice, what are we actually left with? Well, it's not one single path. It's not that simple. Instead, what emerges are two totally distinct blueprints. Both are aimed at the exact same goal, massive success, but they have very, very different roadmaps to get there.
On one hand, you've got what we can call the leveraged path. This is the one championed by Kiyosaki and McElroy. It's a high-stakes game, all about using other people's money, mastering the art of the sale, and just playing to win at all costs. But then on the other hand, you've got the compounding path. That's Matt Ishbia's playbook. This is a much more disciplined climb, built on living beneath your means, reinvesting everything you can, and winning through a sheer, unmatched work ethic.
So, here's the crucial takeaway. There is no single right answer here. Even at the absolute highest levels of wealth, the experts themselves totally disagree on the best way to get there. And that leaves the most important question of all for you. Based on your personality, your goals, your tolerance for risk, which blueprint are you going to build? The choice is yours.